Hi, this is Captain Adam from Reel to Reel Outdoors. Thanks for tuning in to Captain's Roundtable. We have some great captains with us today, and we also have a live audience, which is kind of a new thing that we're starting with the Captain's Roundtable. If you'd like more information about being part of that audience, get a hold of Captain Chuck's in Ludington, right there, and we'll be happy to get you signed up for the next one and let you know when it is. So before we get started, we got to thank some awesome sponsors, Captain Chuck's 2 in Ludington, Michigan, and Ludington Beverage. So let's meet those captains.
Hi, I'm Captain Dave Ellis from Salmon Slayer Sport Fishing Charters, Ludington, Michigan.
Hi, I'm Captain Micah Schmidt, Hiatus Charters, Ludington, Michigan.
And I'm Captain Kevin Pomorski, Feed and Time Charters, Ludington, Michigan.
All right, once again, thanks for tuning in. We have a great question this week, and that's how do you approach targeting salmon in the top 40 feet? Now, we're not talking about spring kings. We're talking about a big north blow, you got cold water near the surface, and the fish are up high. Or, second scenario, pierhead combat fishing. What are your baits? How are you going after it? What are you running? Maybe the rods that you're running, that kind of situation. So, before we get started, we got to give a shout out to the Bud Light Seltzer. These are actually very good. Seltzer. That's for Kevin. All right, Kevin, you got to start us off here.
Oh, twice in a row. Well, I would say if that cold water blew in and we were fishing the pier heads, I'd replace my wire divers. I would at least make my high my low at that point using a regular diver with a regular ring on my low, and use that wire. It's still a wire rod, and then I'd use a slide diver for my high, or I'd run possibly 2 slide divers, mono slide divers. I would run my 3 riggers and probably a 1, 3, 5 color, and maybe a 7 straight off the back. That way you could kind of tend it a little bit. I'd run a lot of plugs, cut plugs. I like the double glow, or natural glow. The black ladderback, glow black ladderback, moldy Wonder Bread. I'd probably have those on my long lines, my cores, and probably my riggers as well. I'd probably still keep a white paddle on the chute with a pickle. And my divers, highs would probably be plugs with the slides, slide divers, where they both be cut plugs or number 3s. Same with my cores. My low wires, I would run either a flasher and fly or meat rigs, probably a white or a green or a black. Black slick, white slick, something like that. That would be my program for fishing the pier heads.
All right. Well, I can, I'm pretty much in a similar scenario. Normally, I will usually run my lows. I'll still run usually with a 104 diver instead of a 124. So like a regular size diver, small weight. Still run on one, and then I like slide divers. I'm a huge slide diver fan. So like a 30-pound mono slide diver. As far as cores go, yeah, one color, 2 color, 3 color, 5, same deal, 7 down the chute. We like to try and stay manageable in our length, so if somebody cuts right behind us, we're not getting chopped off. So keeping our longest line where we can easily reel it in is kind of important. We like to run a lot of lines in there, and there's not a lot of room. So if you're going to run a lot of lines in a congested situation, you better be prepared to reel. Or lose. Yes. I'm a little different though. Like I like to run. I like to run glow spoons. you have to be really careful if you're running like a 1-2-3 or a 1-3-5, because a 1 color with a plug and a 3 color with a spoon are probably going to be right next to each other, and the first time you turn, they're going to tangle. So you got to remember that plug's probably going to dive another 3 feet, or maybe even up to 5 feet. And so keep that in consideration. I like to run regular size spoons on my highs, or my highest cores. And then on my out and downs, mostly plugs I'm going to have on there. I'm always going to have a paddle. I run a paddle always in that scenario. I try to run it maybe 5 to 7 feet off the bottom and try and keep it there. However, on my divers, I'm not opposed to running a plug, but I like to run mag glow spoons, mainly moonshine. I really like Wonder Bread. I really like the mag, Bloody Nose. Any kind of a glow spoon, anyways, on those. And then on my lows, I'll run some kind of a rotator for the most part. Rotator fly, rotator meat rig, something like that. So that's kind of my program. Davey, what you got?
Well, that's my favorite fishery, is when we're fishing the pier heads, and I spend a lot of time in fishing in PM Lake. It's gotten pretty tough with all the guys in there jigging, but I've taken a lot of fish out of there trolling through the years. And if I'm out in the lake and plan on staying out in the lake, I'll run 1, 3, 5, 7 down the chute, same kind of program. Most generally, they've all got plugs on them, unless, I hear somebody say they're catching them on spoons and my plugs aren't going. In which case, if I start pulling spoons, I'll set one side up and do all 3 with spoons and keep my plugs on the other side. My divers, I typically stick with the wires. I'll run 4 wires. I've got, slide diver rigs too on Fireline, but I don't use them a lot. If I have to stretch the lead length out. But I found that, they, especially in the darker water, they'll typically come up and bite those shorter leads, on the wire divers. I'll run a regular diver mag green on 1.5 for my low, and then a regular diver with a regular ring on 3.5 on my highs, and the riggers will have plugs on the out downs and usually some type of blade on the chute. But I'm always changing stuff up. If I'm not hitting the fish, I'm changing stuff up. If I move into the little lake, typically you're not going to be running boards in there, because you're going to run into problems because of the boat traffic. And if you do run boards in there and you get them cut off, you got nobody to complain at but yourself. And I've seen guys in the little lake with 2 boards out each side in boat traffic, and all I can do is shake my head. You can't get mad at somebody for cutting your stuff off if you're going to run that in there. I typically in there, I'm going to run 3 riggers and 4 divers. I may stick 100 copper down the chute. That works well in there at times. I've taken a lot of fish on that setup. Because it's fairly short, you can reel it in if you have to, quick. But if I'm staying out, out in the big lake, then I'll have all the cores and everything spread out across the board out there.
All right.
Well, I've caught a lot of fish outside of our pier heads. I've caught some fish inside the little lake, but if I can avoid it, I steer clear of our pier heads and that little lake. I like to get away from the traffic. I like to stay away from the drama. I like to set a troll, go one direction, and catch fish. So with that being said, do I have to stick with a program at the pier heads, or can we go out to a thermocline at 45?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So after a big blow, it's July or August, and lake's kind of set up a little bit. Or if we just have a thermocline at 45 foot, which we had 2 years ago, it's awesome. We can put the 450, 400, 350. You can put those down. You can get the 1s, the 3s, the 5s. You can get a flat line out, and you can put a lot of rods in the strike zone, and you can have a lot of action, and the fish are aggressive, and it can be some of my favorite fishing. what I like to do is I will change my wire diver, my high wire diver, to a braided diver setup. And generally I'll run a spoon. I'll still run my low diver with rotator fly. I'll run spoons on my out and downs, anywhere from the chute, down 60. So below the break, and then everything else above it. And then when it comes to spoons, the orange slice for moonshine, that's where it really shined. We had a kid on the dock, Justin Plamondon, a couple of years ago. He decided he wanted to run that one day, and he was just smoking fish on it. And he didn't really put it together that it was the thermocline at 45 foot, but we're like, this thing's on fire. And I'm pretty sure we pegged Captain Chuck's after that and bought every one of them and made it tough for everybody else in town to get one. So that spoon is in fuego then. Fireball on a 5-color, that's going to shine. The Yak Lightnings, fantastic spoons. Mixed veggie SS, I like SS spoons. Fishing those, 357s.
Wonder Bread.
Yeah, so it's, Rasta,
Rasta Goose, the SS Rasta
it's fun
Goose.
fishing, and we didn't have it last year. 2 years ago we had it. If we could have it again this year, it's one of my favorite times to fish.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want to kind of touch on that? Say you're out deeper in the cold waters up high.
I'd say a lot of times you're running a faster speed.
Yeah.
You got to kick your speed up a little bit. Don't be afraid to turn or change directions, because sometimes one direction is going to catch all your fish. You could, whether it's a trough, a lot of times it is a trough.
Yeah.
Troll sucks, or it could be with them or against them. But yeah, I think a lot of times out there in that higher water column, colder water, you kick up your speed and you just figure out what way they like it. And
I think you got to remember, if the cold water's up high and it's set up, there's a reason the cold water's up high, and it's probably because it was just really windy. So you probably are dealing with some kind of a current somewhere, and that's going to make it a one direction troll most of the time. So don't be afraid, especially if you're in a smaller boat or you have a crew of guys that are competent guys. You can rip them and run back much easier than you can to do that down current troll that's probably not going to be any good, or up current troll, whichever way it's rolling. But pay attention to your way your spread's pulling. It'll tell you a lot. If your boards on one side are collapsed and the other side are spread out, then you're probably really not square to what's going on underneath. And once you get that squared up and find that troll, it's going to be lights out, probably just one way. How about you, Dave? I've seen you out in that coldish water before.
Yeah. I usually, like Micah was saying, I have a tendency when I'm out offshore a little bit to run more spoons and have that speed kicked up. I might have a couple little plugs, a little chrome redhead, or the little pearl silver horde glow. I might have a couple of those out in the spread, but other than that, it's going to be mostly spoons.
Yeah, that's a good point. Those smaller plugs, if you run those smaller plugs, they are much more tolerant to speed and going a little bit faster. So if you're kind of not going to really commit to going that slower speed for the plugs, either or the cut face plugs like the Captain's Choice or the Ace Highs, they're a little more tolerant as well. So since we're in our live scenario, we'll open it up for any questions from our audience here.
So you guys have talked about braid versus mono when you're running your slide divers. Which one works better, and why do you do it?
I would say I prefer mono. If I'm not running wire, I'm gonna run mono. Slide diver mono, mainly because of the sea fleas. I just think if I need to get deeper than I can with mono, then I'll run my wires. But because of sea fleas, I don't tend to get into the fire line divers.
Yeah, I'm going to run my wires if I can. I'm going to run a high wire and a low wire. I just prefer that. But our dock mate, Captain Dennis Wamanda, runs braided braided line for his high diver. So if we're getting phone calls that he's getting fish on his high diver and we're not getting fish on ours, I get the braided high diver out and I start running that. But generally, it's because the fish are up higher than in the water column. So again, if you're, 50, 60, 40 foot, wherever, that's at, but anything deeper than that, I'm going to run my wire. Mono, if I'm going to run a slide diver, I'm going to use a mono setup. Generally, that's just an offshore thing for us. Just getting a longer lead out there and then not having to send that diver out as far kind of gets the bait a little bit further away from the boat. But I know a lot of guys, they love their slide divers. I'd say for us, we don't use them as much, even if we are offshore. I mean, fishing's got to be pretty slow offshore before I go digging in the cabin for the slide diver. And then that slide diver's got to be really good for me to go digging for the other slide diver rod that's down there.
Yeah, I would say, we run 4 wires. That's how we fish. But we have added this firewire diver, and it's just firewire loaded rod on a diver rod, with firewire on the reel, and it has its moments of.
It's usually a spoon.
It's usually a spoon on it, but it just, I don't know what it is. There's sometimes when it just outperforms. But if you've ever ran firewire and got into sea fleas, it's a disaster. I mean, you cannot even reel in, where a wire diver will cut right through that. You won't have that problem. So if it's kind of, we have one, and it is always available, and it actually goes out more than you would think. But I really do think it's driven by Dennis. Dennis will hit 5 fish on his high diver. We haven't had a bite. We put the Dennis rig out, and it's just because of that communication is the reason that we're doing it. But the mono diver thing, I like the stretch. I like that when you're in the pier heads and a 30-pound king hits something, that I have a little extra shock absorber in that 30-pound mono, and I think it's kind of saves you once in a while.
Snubbers on your divers?
We do use snubbers on our divers, yeah. On our king divers, we do, yeah. So, anyways, I hope that this is some good information for you and get you into some offshore king fishing or some combat fishing in the pier heads, or in the little lake. I like the little lake, but it's stressful. When you're in a 16-foot aluminum boat, it's pretty fun. When you're in a 31 tier and you're trying to navigate it, and it's just, I lost a whole bunch of gear a couple of years ago, and I've been a little shy of it since. So nothing like what Kevin Hackert did, but So shout out to Kevin Hackert on Real Faster. He can tell you that story. We could put his email right here. But anyways, thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for our audience. These guys have been great today, not taking it too hard on us. And we're looking to do more of these. So watch Captain Chuck's, watch Reel to Reel Outdoors, and look for some updates on Roundtable Live, Captain's Roundtable Live. So this is a new thing. Once again, big shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Bud Light Seltzer. Very good, actually. I'm enjoying this. Black cherry is my flavor here. And also Captain Chuck's for all the support that they help us out with. And giving us a great place with the wall of Spin Doctor behind us. So if you'd like to build a wall of Spin Doctor, come talk to Scott. He'll be able to set you up with everything you need to do this at your house. Hopefully 12 deep too, yeah. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, and you guys have a wonderful week, and tight lines. See you. Get out there and catch some kings.